Hello and welcome back to our coverage of the anniversary box for 2024. Bandai still just kind of shadow dropped these reveals on us via their website, but never made any official Facebook post or tweet or anything of that sort. So all the anniversary box cards are out and live. So let's keep going over them. Right now, I am in a brand new area, as you can see. And I am definitely in Florida on vacation as this goes live, but I still wanted to make sure something went out, so for the next couple of days you're going to see these roll out where we keep covering these cards. Today we've got green, and honestly these are two of my favorite green decks. The decks that are getting support are Go Bros and King Cold. Go Bros is like probably one of my favorite green decks of actually all time. I even played this at a local literally, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, something like that. Just because I love the deck. I think it's a really simple, effective strategy that really enables a lot of green good stuff. I think that the 8-drop is one of my favorite green cards, just design-wise, as well as what it can do for the deck and the game. But then the new King Cold stuff is also really cool. I always felt like the field stuff is really effective and cool, but it was just always like, wow, your hand is so dead, or it was really hard to continually have those field cards. But this is definitely going to give some extra much needed love. So as we look at this, Go Bros is getting support, and honestly it's really weird because two of the cards are like definitely for the engine. One of them is at least very playable because it increases the playability of the 8 cost, but this Goten and Gohan are just not very good, so we can just start there. The Gohan as an activate main, you can play it for a green if you choose a Gohan Adolescence in your battle area or hand and place it in the drop area. So typically you're going to do that off of the 1 cost that you've played and just play him. And then when he attacks, switch him to active mode and he gains 10,000, so he's a 20k dual attacker for 1 effectively. However, I don't really like this card because it doesn't trigger your leader's draw because it's only a 4 cost rather than a 6. So not triggering that draw means that he's just like an average like body that pressures, and 20 dual is good, but when green can like be paying 1 for the 8 cost or paying an additional energy to get access to things like Father Son Kamehameha, it's really hard to justify playing a card like this. Being that it is a 4 cost Gohan, it does allow you to potentially go through some chain stuff, but it's still not quite good enough to me. The Goten is a little better. Activate battle for a green if your leader is a Gohan Adolescent or and your Goten is in battle, basically meaning that you can just do this if your leader's in a battle. You can just play it from your hand for 1 green at activate battle speed. And then barrier 20k, when you place this card in the owner's drop area at the start of a main phase, you'll be able to play the Gohan and Goten battle ready from your deck on top of him, which is the other SR6 cost, which is fine. Basically, you can use this to spend 1 energy to trigger your leader skill twice. Basically go, all right, well, during my opponent's turn, I'll pay a green. I'll play this Goten, draw a card because it's a green Goten, 6 or higher. Your leader will draw. And then at the start of your next main phase, you play the 6 cost from your deck, that triggering your leader again to draw. So it is a pretty decent draw engine, but to include no less than like 3/3 of these cards in your deck is very, very obnoxious. Especially because, again, for a green, sure, yes, it would trigger a draw, and it kind of produces like a half body, but why would I do that when instead I could be going, all right, hey, let's play Cell Destroying Kamehameha, let's put a Floodgate up. Again, every energy in green is so precious because right now it represents half of a Father Son Kamehameha, it represents successoring into Sin and Gogeta, it represents playing the 8-drop itself. These cards are really, that card is solid, but it's not as good as the others. However, this Goku is finally something that we can actually talk about that does something. So, being a 2-cost Goku, you can Z-stack it underneath the Z extra when you immediately go for it, and that's great, because activate main limit 1, you can strike a card from your Z energy and discard 1 card from your hand to play it from underneath the Family Kamehameha emotions delivered in your battle area. And then you can go ahead and place a Goku from your Z deck underneath the Z battle or Z extra card. So you'll place the original emotions delivered underneath the Z extra, and then activate main. You remove him from the game, and you can activate the auto skill on that emotions delivered by a green for a turn. I really like that this basically allows you to produce a free body if you want to, just for discarding a card and then striking as the energy. But more importantly, it allows you to make the triple strike effect on your Z extra instead of costing 2 total, right? Because it'd be, or I guess 3 total, because it'd be 1 for your 8 cost, 1 for your Z extra, and then 1 for the Goku underneath it. This allows you to do it for just 2 green, being the 8 drop itself, and then that, meaning that they're gonna have to negate the 8 drop unless they want to deal with a 40 triple crit, which is kind of nuts, because you can just do that like right away, especially if you go second, do it right on their turn 3 while you're drawing cards and producing this extra stuff. It's very, very good. So I really like this card. I think that it's going to help accelerate that threat. Just because one of the things that Go Bros doesn't really have going for it is the fact that it doesn't do anything that other green decks can't also do. It does draw quite a bit of cards and it works through a lot of different things, but there's just not enough that it really did separately over, say, like Green Gohan or Green Goku. But this gives you access to a triple strike threat that the others don't really have access to, and I think that's really cool. So very impressed with the Goku. The Gohan is honestly garbage, and the Goten is fine, but it's not good enough to probably consider running when Green has such high competition for its other cards. Meanwhile, King Cold, these cards are kind of nice. They definitely facilitate the deck a lot better, which is really important. So I'm going to start with the King Cold Comes, just because it's the probably the most important one. Maybe tied with Tiny Aggressor, but you choose a field extra in your battle area and place in the drop, just to give a Frieza Clan +5 for the turn. This is really nice that you can buff your leader on your opponent's turn to gain that advantage, as well as a lot of times, right, those field cards do have effects that say when this card is placed in the drop, do something, right? Think about New Ruler or the spaceship that gives double strike and removes markers off of Unison. That's really sweet that you can get those effective triggers more frequently. And then because this is a Z or a extra card in the battle area, it does help reduce a lot of your effects here for these other cards. And then activate main for a green if you have 3 or more energy and you choose a Frieza green Frieza BR card and remove it from the game. Then you can go ahead and play the Golden Frieza Pinnacle of the Clan, which is the old boss monster, right on top of the chosen card in active mode. One thing that I think this really does for a lot of pressure is, like, you can then now pay 1 for, like, Anticipated Onslaught or whatever that card is that plays the dual attack Frieza. That card's going to be a dual attack 20k, and then you'll spend this 1 and remove it from the game. And then you'll go, all right, well, here's a Golden Frieza Pinnacle of the Clan, which is a like 30 or 25 double strike dual attack that rips a card at random and kills a card ignoring barrier. So that's like a ton of pressure for just 2 energy, right? Obviously, it's a 3-card combo, but when you're filtering as much as this deck does with New Ruler, it really is something that is very, very capable of happening. I don't like that it costs Z energy. That is a little unfortunate, just because this deck is not great at building Z energy. The King Cold card that they gave in the promo forever ago is fine, but it's not quite that good. So it's probably just going to be something off of like a Paragus super combo that you're going to resolve. We have Frieza Tiny Aggressor. I think this card is really important, so it's going to reduce for each card green extra in the battle area. Comes all the way down to a 1 cost. Having Deflect is great, and since it is reduced, you can play it again off of like the Anticipated Onslaught or whatever that card is called. And so for 1 green, you can play a King Vegeta Umbral Invader from your deck or drop and wrestle with a marker on it. That's really great that you can just keep producing that card over and over again, because the activate main is going to give this card protection. You bounce back a 2-cost field to your hand, and then you gain barrier until the start of your opponent's turn. Being able to recycle them without having to place them in the drop is really, really great. That's not something we've seen before with the deck. A lot of times it's like, well, you have to activate it, and then it goes away, and then you either have to like use Berry Blue to revive the card, or you just have to find another 2-cost field, and this will allow you to just bounce them back to hand to get some of those pressure back, and I think that's really, really sweet. It's a blocker, so it becomes a 19k barrier blocker for a turn cycle, which is sweet. It's obviously a Frieza BR, so you could turn it into a Pinnacle of the Clan using the Z extra now. Just a really great card. I'm really impressed by it. Being able to gain barrier for a turn cycle is nothing to scoff at. And then Frieza Steadfast Emperor. This is the card that I think has the highest roll, because it can do the most amount of damage to your opponent, but it's probably not going to happen as frequently as we would like. So it has the same reduction as the other Frieza, so you can play it off of the anticipated onslaught, or you can just be a 1-cost 20k. When this card is played, you activate a mono green field from your drop, which is great, right? So it does help recycle those effects. It's a lot like Berry Blue, but it now only costs 1, and it's a body instead of having to pay 2. Excellent stuff. And then an activate battle for a green. You can choose one of your green Frieza clans with an energy cost of 5 or less, switch to active mode, and your opponent discards 1 card from their hand. Most effectively, this is going to be used on something like Cooler Armed Forces. Since you are an untapped 2 leader, you are a deck that can take really, really high advantage of a card like that. And being able to switch it to active mode to get them to do another discard. They might discard 3 cards off of your Cooler, dealing with 20 double 3 times, as well as then this 20k effect. So this card is really, really strong. Definitely has one of the highest rolls in the deck. I just don't know if it's going to be something that we're going to regularly see as it comes up, just because the situation is a little harder to produce. Now, this deck is also really good at producing Broly Tyrant, because it does have so many cards that it can just place in the drop area, so that's really cool. I'm really impressed by these cards. I really want to give this a try. I think this is going to be one of the few decks that I actually have one of my locals print off proxies for me and give us some of the test stuff. It still has access to some of the best free negates in the game, right? I think it can do a free negate that kills up to a 3. So, like, better dormant on a negate that's just free. Not to mention the fact that now it still has access to things like the King Cold negate and dormant potential. Honestly, this deck does look really, really fierce, and I'm really impressed by it. So I would love to give this a shot. I hope you guys are really excited about it too. Green is looking pretty good here. We just saw kind of the last few metas ever since Gohan came off of its first place throne. Green has been very good, but never the best deck, right? It's basically always had exactly 2 slots in a top 16, whether that's Gohan, Go Bros, or Green Goku, but none of them have really taken over, and so I really want to see if that can get changed this meta. The Go Bros stuff looks really good. Really, just the Goku does give a little extra threat, and then the King Cold brings a deck that was basically now obscure back into meta contention. So let's see how this plays out, and happy discarding.